Hello, Jackie Edwards here again. I am super excited to be here. We are, yeah, I am just being fabulous and hanging out. I'm having a beautiful morning of learning and growth because that's what I like to do in my mornings. I like to, open my mind to new possibilities. So I want to talk about today, speaking of new possibilities and opening our minds, is I've seen a lot of comments and hate, and this happens in like the body positivity and the fat positivity world more than I'd like to see it. And it's the kind of who's fat enough to be like fat. So I kind of called it in the title skinny fat versus like real fat, and who gets to be like real fat, so that like you've got, I'm the one that's fat enough to really have a problem, and you shouldn't feel bad because you're not fat enough to be sad about being fat. And I see a lot of that, like, and you see it play out in a lot of places in the world. Like, I can't be sad because there's other people, more sad in the world. Like, how could I be upset if, there's a war and there's people suffering in that war? How could I possibly, how's it okay for me to be upset if there's other people that are struggling more? It's the same there. It's like, how can that person call themselves fat when I'm way fatter than them? They don't get to say that. They can still shop in like normal people clothes in normal people sizes. So they don't get to think they're fat. They're perfect. I wish I could be like that. So they don't get to talk about being fat. And I think that's where we start to kind of really lose the purpose of actually having that body freedom and having that just complete love for all bodies. And breaking down that understanding of, especially as women and as men a lot more nowadays, we've all been taught to hate our bodies. Whether we're real fat, we're super fat, infinity fat. I mean, there's all sorts of categories of fat. Or we're like skinny fat, or we're skinny but we still think we're fat. Like, we've all been taught to hate our bodies because that is what the multi-billion-dollar health and wellness industry is based on. It is based on us hating ourselves. It's also a lot of what the patriarchy is based on. It's based on us hating ourselves so that they can be in control. Because if we hate ourselves, and if we're hating on each other, and if we're fighting each other, then who's going to fight back against patriarchy? Who's going to stand up to multi-billion-dollar health and wellness companies? If we're hating ourselves and we're hating each other, all of our time is taken up by that. So for me, it's been a lot of opening up and understanding that there are women that to me look beautiful and perfect and skinny, and I would love to have their body, and they still hate their body every single day and think that they're fat. So when they are around me and they're talking about how they're on a diet and how they're fat and how they don't fit in their clothes and how they hate themselves, I used to get really triggered by that. I used to feel really offended because I'm like, how could you say this in front of me? Like, look at me, I'm twice your size. Why do you think it's okay? I mean, I'd love to be your size. So you don't get to call yourself fat and talk about your diets in front of me. Like, inappropriate. And it would just be like, blah, 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 and anger. Whereas now, when you really look at the big picture in the world and all of the kind of cultural and social conditioning that we've got, of course everyone thinks they're fat and they hate themselves. So it's totally okay for them to have their feelings, even if I'm bigger and I think my life is harder. They've still got problems as well. It doesn't mean we have to listen to them and commiserate with them or anything, but we can just kind of understand where everybody's coming from, especially in the online world where I see things get kind of heated up in comments, especially on like a fat positive or a body positive page where, thin people get bashed. Like, that's not moving us all forward in what I think is kind of the right, more inclusive direction. We've all got different bodies. We've all got different shapes. We've all got different lives. And we've all got our own kind of stories, problems, whatever. So just because somebody is bigger or smaller doesn't mean that they aren't entitled to kind of their thoughts and their feelings. And especially those thoughts and feelings that have been kind of like culturally ingrained into them. Just like they've been into us. So where we're, upset about like fatphobia and people, making fun of that, it doesn't fix the problem to kind of go the other way and denigrate the people who are skinny but think they're fat, or who are skinnier than us. Or even looking back at our old selves and being like, oh, I was so skinny then, but I always thought I was fat. I wish I hadn't, thought I was fat then. I wish I had lived my life more then. I wish, all these things. And all of the focus is around, what we look like, what our bodies look like. And I find myself, again, all those old pictures pop up, my social media feeds, in like my cool Google Photos things. I'm like, oh, I wish I still looked like that. I remember thinking I was so fat, and yet, damn, I'd kill to look like that today. But that's not helpful. It's not a helpful thought. It's not a helpful thought to think, oh, I wish I could look like that woman, or that woman, or I can't believe she's bitching about her diet and not exercising enough because she doesn't need to. I'm the one that needs to. And it all tends to come back to us hating on ourselves. So most of our judgments, I would say all, but most of our judgments of other people are really kind of the judgments of ourselves. So when we're judging those other people for not being fat enough, or for not being allowed to bitch about their diets or their bodies, it's all coming back because we're judging ourselves somehow. We're judging our bodies for not being good enough. We're judging ourselves for not being good enough. And instead we're kind of pushing it onto them. Because it hurts. It hurts to always be beating ourselves up and hating on ourselves. But it doesn't help to push it onto other people. So instead, if you find yourself doing that, if you find yourself thinking those thoughts, it's a great moment to just take a pause, take a breath, and think, where is this kind of triggering me the most? Where am I feeling this the most? How is this impacting me? Why is that skinny person talking about her diet a problem for me? Why is it making me think these thoughts, feel these feelings? And that way you can kind of start digging deeper into the layers of, what really is the problem? Because other people are not the problem. Like, you can't control them. They've got their own lives. They're doing whatever they're doing. It's all coming down then to what actually is the problem that we're telling ourselves that might be way deep down inside, buried forever. Like, why are we getting upset about it? And when we can start to unravel those things, we can start to really feel that growth and that more openness and the possibilities. So we can see, I see. I don't like her talking about her diet because she's skinny, because I think I should be on a diet because I'm fat. And because I'm not on a diet, then I feel that shame. So that's why I don't like those skinny people talking about their diets, because then I think I should be on a diet. And why do I think I should be on a diet? Oh, I think I should be on a diet because, well, I've been told my entire life that fat people should be on diets, and that that's the right thing to do for our health, because I'm told that I'm not healthy unless I'm on a diet and I'm at the right weight. And you can start to unpick and see, well, actually, so her talk and her whatever diet she's on doesn't impact me. My thoughts impact me, because then I think thoughts that make me feel ashamed because of what my actions are or what my actions aren't. And it can be a little bit of a twisty mind loop sometimes thinking through that, but let's not hate on each other is the ultimate message. Like, we're all just people. We're all exactly the same amount of worthiness. Being skinny doesn't make you more worthy. Being fat and suffering doesn't make you more worthy. Because you've had more hardships doesn't make you more worthy. Because you've had an easy life doesn't make you more worthy. We all start off as worthy. We're all born there. It doesn't go up and down from there. Worthiness just stays the same. So then when we can kind of take that layer off and just look at, well, where am I spinning? Where am I causing this problem within myself? And how can I be more open to other thoughts, other ways of seeing things, then we can just have so much more fun, honestly, and be so much more fabulous. Because when we're not worried about, it kind of comes back to what I was talking about yesterday with the shame. It seems to all kind of spiral down to there, really. Because that's one of the main feelings that the world wants us to feel, so that we stop fighting against things and we just move along like little sheep, following all the rules. So if we can really start to unpick that shame, we can open up to so much more freedom and so many more possibilities. And instead of hiding that shame by blaming other people, by telling them that's their problem, it's a society problem, it's a cultural problem, because even though these things are coming down as like beliefs from above that are just being like ingrained into our heads, it's still with us that we have to start to fix the problems. So we can't just rage against the world and shout at everybody and tell everybody else to change. We have to look at what those triggers are and how we can change ourselves. Because as we change ourselves, as we grow, as we, and it just sounds so cheesy, but as we love ourselves, we can open up that love and send out all those vibes to everybody else. And the more we love ourselves, the more we can love others and be compassionate and understanding. And that, in the end, is what fucking changes the world. But it all comes down to ourselves. And taking the time, being selfish, and doing the work on ourselves first, which is what I love to do. I spend all of my mornings doing, and what I try to share here in my videos. So if you like them, make sure you're following me, make sure you're watching me on all my little platforms, and I'd love it if you shared it with my friends. That would be, with your friends, that would be, I don't know, it would mean the fucking world to me to see that, yeah, you're appreciating it. Just give me a like, thumbs up, whatever. And yeah, I will see you again tomorrow for more fabulousness.